All right, today I want to give you a little insight into an area that we call the orchard. We only call it that because it has a few fruit trees. Um, but the reason I want to point this out is it has a few things over here. It does have some pear trees, it does have some apple trees, it also has a Armenian plum, I believe it is, and a few other things. So as I'm coming down here, I'm just going to stop here for a minute, and you can see that this is trellised here. And there's a couple different levels. The people that lived here before us actually had their vegetable garden over here. I chose not to. I chose to move it to a much sunnier side of the yard. The other reason I am now really glad that I didn't have our vegetable garden over here is that this side, because let's see, that is a pear tree, that is a pear tree, that is an apple tree, there's another apple tree over there, and a few others hidden in here, smaller. Um, because of that, it attracts a lot of deer on this side of the yard. And we are actually kind of on the opposite side of the yard, opposite side of the property from the now vegetable garden. And I have come to really, really be glad that I made that decision because the deer love to come through this area where the fruit trees are, even though we don't eat the apples because they're kind of wormy. The deer love them. And so they come through here, they eat the apples, then they go kind of to the back field behind our house and they eat the grasses and stuff and they stay out of my vegetable garden. It's amazing. So this is a pear tree and it actually, we've had to cut some things back. You can see some new kind of growth in here that I'm going to want to trim up this year. That's brand new. I know very little about pruning trees, but I do know you're supposed to cut those new shoots that come straight up. And so that's what I've been trying to do every year. But we do get quite a few pears of this tree. We love it. And in the summer, there's all kinds of ferns in here on the ground and different things that attract pollinators. There's so much through here. It's definitely a little overgrown for us a lot of times, but it's lovely for all the bugs and we get all kinds of things. And then this here, this big tall one, is also a pear tree that gets lots of pears. And maybe I can show you here that the buds are starting to come in. So it's a very happy pear tree, but it's also a very big pear tree, much bigger than it should be. We probably need to chop it halfway down there and just have not. And then if I come over here, I'm going to show you another apple tree. And I know I showed not too long ago an apple tree we have at the base of our driveway that the trunk is all split open. It's this beautiful old apple tree. Well, this one is not much younger. This one is also a big old apple tree. We have actually cleaned this up quite a bit. If you can see here, these vines have pretty much taken over it, and you can see them starting again. And every year we come in here and we're cleaning all these up and cutting all these back. Gotta love the vines here. But this big old apple tree does, and I'm just tromping through the grass and the craziness. This does have some really healthy branches and good growth on it. You can see here it still has some decent growth. Doesn't get a ton of apples, but it's a nice old tree. And I'm sure we could bring it back to life if we knew a little bit more about what we were doing. But that's okay. I love having it. It's a pretty old tree. And then over here we have another pear tree, and this one also we get pears from. It's also very healthy, very happy. Kind of got to take the oak tree down out of the middle of it there. Let's see, then we have a big autumn olive there and some more here. And then I'm coming around and down through this area. And we do bush hog this a couple times a year. just to keep the grasses and the ferns down a little bit, kind of try and keep control of some things. Um, but this is also an apple tree that we've never seen any apples from. I cleaned it up and got the vines out a couple of years ago, and we just haven't seen much come from it. But it's another one that I kind of keep trying and hoping. And I don't know what's going on with it this year, but it's like it's got broken tips here. Something's happening. And this is a little bit of lack of knowledge on my part when it comes to fruit trees. But this one does get leaves, it does get some flowers, it just hasn't gotten any apples. And then as I come over here, we're getting to the plum tree. Now this is a sorry sight. You can see the green hose here. This green hose kind of holding it up, or it was holding it up, and then it lost its battle, and so it's kind of fallen over. But it is nowhere near gone. This tree gets the most beautiful flowers, and it's getting ready to flower here. Even though it's so cold this week, it is 40 degrees out this week. It was like 80 last week. Now it's like 40. But this gets the most beautiful flowers, and it's already getting ready to pop. Even though it's completely laying down, it's a mess. I would love to stand it back up and somehow make it beautiful again, but I almost don't dare. I will come back out here when it has its full blossoms out and show you, because it's so pretty. But it's not dead, it's alive. And we have like a camp road that goes down beside our property there that is what you're seeing, and basically a tractor trail for us back there. And then I'm on the other side of the orchard, sort of looking back over. And so you can see there's grasses and craziness and the house in the distance. The other thing that I would mention, because it was kind of important to me when we moved here, this area that, like I mentioned, it's kind of the trellised area here where they used to have their vegetable garden. When we first got here, one of the things when I was moving was, this might sound silly, but I had at our old property, I had a really nice vegetable garden, and it was small, very small, but I had a nice little vegetable garden that I had grown most everything from seed. And one of the things that I was really proud of was my asparagus. And if you know anything about growing asparagus, you know that it can take like 5 years before you can harvest anything from it. And then it's a perennial, and you can have it for like 75 years. I mean, it's crazy. So I was pretty excited that I got my asparagus from seed all the way to the point where we were harvesting from it every year. And so when we were looking to move, I remember being like, oh, what am I going to do with my asparagus? What am I going to do with my asparagus? Well, when we got here, I just want to show you. You can kind of see this because it's not coming up yet. This is a piece of asparagus from last year. This is how big the asparagus is here on this property. This to me was one of those signs, if I ever needed one, that like the thing I was concerned about, the thing I was sad about. Look, here's another one. This is how big this asparagus is. This to me was like a God moment for sure. It was like, I got you. Don't worry. I'm giving you something better. This, because it used to be their vegetable garden, had asparagus the size of small trees. It was crazy. As we were meeting the people that owned the property at the time, and they were giving us the tour and walking us through, when we ever walked over here and he went, oh, and there's the asparagus, I almost cried. It was so amazing to think that I was giving up plants that were a fraction of the size to get something like this. And it might seem like such a small thing, but to me, those asparagus were they were a sign of sort of, we were meant to be here and it was going to be okay. And I was getting so much more than I was giving up. We were also moving closer to family. And then, of course, there would be things that would happen after we moved later on that would prove to be all the reasons that we moved here. So there you have it. There's the introduction to the area that we call the orchard, which also used to be the vegetable garden and has asparagus the size of trees. All right, thanks.